There's a moment in life when you get tired. Tired of explaining yourself. Tired of justifying your decisions. Tired of trying to make people understand a version of you they've already chosen to misunderstand. And the truth is, it doesn't matter how clearly you speak. It doesn't matter how pure your intentions are. Some people will still twist your words, question your choices, and doubt your worth. Because they are not listening to understand you. They are listening to confirm what they already believe about you. So you explain. You defend. You overtalk. You overgive. And slowly, without even realizing it, you start losing your power. Your peace becomes dependent on their approval. Your confidence becomes dependent on their validation. Your identity becomes shaped by their opinions. But here's what most people never realize. The more you explain yourself to people who have already decided who you are, the less control you have over your own life. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that not every question deserves an answer. Not every opinion deserves your attention. And not every person deserves access to your truth. Because real power is quiet. It doesn't beg to be understood. It doesn't chase approval. And it certainly doesn't waste energy trying to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you. There comes a time when you have to make a decision. To keep explaining. Or to take your power back. In this video, you're going to discover 10 powerful Stoic lessons that will change the way you deal with people, protect your peace, and help you reclaim your self-respect. And if you're someone who is ready to grow, ready to think differently, and ready to take control of your life, make sure you subscribe to this channel right now. Because this is where you learn how to become unshakable. Now listen carefully, because what you're about to hear might change the way you see everything. Not everyone deserves an explanation. One of the hardest truths to accept is that not everyone deserves access to your reasoning. You've been conditioned to believe that explaining yourself is a sign of respect. That if you don't clarify your actions, people will misunderstand you. That silence makes you look guilty. But that's not wisdom, that's fear. Fear of being judged. Fear of being rejected. Fear of being seen the wrong way. The Stoics saw this differently. They understood that your life is not a courtroom, and you are not on trial. You don't owe every person a breakdown of your decisions. You don't owe every critic a defense. And you definitely don't owe people who misunderstand you an explanation they will never accept. Because here's the truth. People don't misunderstand you because you failed to explain well enough. They misunderstand you because they've already chosen not to understand. And once someone has made that decision, no amount of talking will change it. So what happens? You start over-explaining. You repeat yourself. You try to make your intentions clearer. You give more details, more reasons, more energy. And in the end, nothing changes. Except one thing. You become drained. Your mind becomes restless. Your peace gets disturbed. And your confidence starts to shrink. All because you tried to convince someone who was never open to being convinced. This is where Stoicism teaches you something powerful. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. When you stop explaining yourself to people who don't deserve it, you send a message without saying a word. You show that you are secure in your decisions. You show that you trust your own judgment. You show that your life does not revolve around other people's approval. And that is power. There is a quiet confidence that comes when you no longer feel the need to be understood by everyone. You start choosing who gets access to your thoughts. You start protecting your energy. You stop trying to fix how people see you, and start focusing on how you see yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's not your job to control their perception. It's your job to control your actions. So the next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, pause for a moment and ask, is this person truly seeking understanding? Or are they just looking for something to criticize? Your answer will tell you everything you need to know. And sometimes, the most powerful response you can give is no response at all. The more you explain, the less you are believed. There's something subtle, but very dangerous, about over-explaining. At first, it feels harmless. You just want to be understood. You just want to clear things up. You just want people to see your intentions. But the more you talk, the more you justify, the more you try to prove your point, the less people believe you. And it seems unfair, doesn't it? Because in your mind, you're being honest. You're being open. You're giving clarity. But in their eyes, you look unsure. You look like someone trying too hard. You look like someone seeking approval. And without realizing it, you begin to lose authority over your own words. The Stoics understood a simple truth about human nature. Confidence does not speak loudly. It does not repeat itself. It does not chase validation. Confidence is felt, not forced. When you are truly certain about your decisions, you don't feel the need to convince anyone. You say what needs to be said, and you move on. But when you keep explaining, adding more details, defending every angle, you create doubt where there was none. People begin to question you not because your decision is wrong, but because your energy feels uncertain. And here's the deeper truth. Over-explaining is often not about them. It's about you. It's about that small voice inside that says, what if they think I'm wrong? What if they don't like me? What if I lose their approval? So you talk more, hoping to secure something that can never be secured externally. Approval. But the more you chase it, the further it moves away. Because respect is not given to those who seek it desperately. It is given to those who stand firm, even when misunderstood. There is a certain power in saying less. In giving your decision without wrapping it in endless explanations. In allowing people to react however they choose, without trying to control it. Because once you accept that you cannot control how people perceive you, you become free. Free from the pressure to prove yourself. Free from the anxiety of being judged. Free from the exhausting cycle of explaining your every move. And in that freedom, you become stronger. You become calmer. You become more grounded. So the next time you feel the urge to over-explain, remember this. If someone truly respects you, they don't need a long explanation. And if they don't respect you, no explanation will ever be enough. Speak clearly. Stand firm. And then, let go. You are not responsible for how people feel about you. One of the biggest reasons you keep explaining yourself is because you feel responsible for how people react to you. You don't want them to be upset. You don't want them to misunderstand you. You don't want them to feel hurt, disappointed, or offended. So you explain, and explain, and explain, hoping that if you say the right words, you can control how they feel. But here's the truth that changes everything. You can be kind, and still be misunderstood. You can be honest, and still be judged. You can do everything right, and still not be accepted. Because people don't react based only on what you do. They react based on who they are. Their beliefs. Their past experiences. Their insecurities. Their expectations. All of these shape how they see you, and none of them are under your control. The Stoics made a clear distinction between what is within your control, and what is not. Your actions. Within your control. Your words. Within your control. Your intentions. Within your control. But their opinions. Their emotions. Their interpretations. Completely outside your control. And the moment you try to control something that isn't yours, you lose yourself in the process. You start walking on eggshells. You start filtering your truth. You start adjusting your behavior just to avoid reactions. And slowly, you stop being real. All because you took responsibility for something that was never yours to carry. This is where your power has been leaking. Not because you're weak, but because you've been trying to manage other people's emotions as if they were your own. But listen carefully. You are not responsible for how people feel about your truth. If you speak with honesty, if you act with integrity, if your intentions are clean, then you have done your part. What they choose to feel after that belongs to them. And this realization is freeing. Because it allows you to stop over-explaining just to soften reactions. It allows you to stop shrinking just to keep others comfortable. It allows you to stand firm, without carrying emotional weight that isn't yours. Not everyone will like you. Not everyone will agree with you. Not everyone will understand you. And that's okay. Because your life is not a performance designed to satisfy everyone watching. It's a path you walk based on your own values. So stop explaining yourself just to manage how others feel. Speak your truth. Stand by your decisions. And let people feel whatever they choose to feel. Because real power begins the moment you stop trying to control what was never yours. Silence is a form of strength. Most people are uncomfortable with silence. When someone questions you, you feel the need to respond. When someone challenges you, you feel the need to defend. When someone misunderstands you, you feel the need to correct. Because silence feels like weakness. It feels like you're losing. It feels like you're admitting defeat. It feels like you're letting them win. But that's an illusion. The Stoics understood something most people never realize. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the control of it. Anyone can react. Anyone can argue. Anyone can raise their voice and try to prove a point. But not everyone can remain calm, composed, and silent. When they are being misunderstood. That takes discipline. That takes self-control. That takes a level of inner strength that most people are still trying to develop. Because when you choose silence, you are not avoiding the situation. You are choosing not to engage in something that doesn't deserve your energy. And that's where the real power lies. You begin to see things differently. You start recognizing when a conversation is not about truth, but about ego. When it's not about understanding, but about winning. And once you see that clearly, you stop trying to prove yourself. You stop wasting words on people who are not listening. You stop explaining your decisions to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Instead, you observe. You stay grounded. You let people reveal themselves through their words and reactions. Because silence does something powerful. It removes you from unnecessary conflict. It protects your peace. And it exposes the intentions of others without you having to say a single word. There is also a quiet message in silence. When you don't react. When you don't defend. When you don't explain. You show that you are not shaken. You show that you are secure enough not to engage. You show that your identity does not depend on their approval. And that makes people think. Because they expect a reaction. They expect you to explain. They expect you to defend yourself. But when you don't, you take control of the situation without saying anything. This doesn't mean you stay silent in every situation. It means you become selective. You speak when it matters. You stay silent when it doesn't. You respond with intention, not emotion. And over time, you realize something powerful. Not every battle needs to be fought. Not every opinion needs to be corrected. Not every misunderstanding needs to be clarified. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is say nothing at all. Stop trying to control your image. One of the quiet traps that keeps you explaining yourself is the need to control how people see you. You want to be seen as good, as smart, as responsible, as someone who makes the right decisions. So when someone questions you, or misunderstands you, it feels like a threat. Not just to the situation, but to your identity. And immediately, you react. You start explaining. You start defending. You start trying to correct their perception. Because deep down, you want to fix how they see you. But here's the truth most people never accept. You cannot control your image in other people's minds. You can do everything right and still be seen the wrong way. You can act with integrity and still be judged unfairly. You can explain your intentions perfectly and still be misunderstood. Because people don't see you as you are. They see you as they are. Through their biases. Through their experiences. Through their expectations. And no amount of explanation can fully control that. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that trying to manage your image is a losing game. Because the more you try to control how people see you, the more you become dependent on their opinions. You start adjusting your behavior just to maintain a certain image. You start filtering your truth just to avoid judgment. You start performing, instead of living. And slowly, you lose authenticity. You lose freedom. You lose yourself. All for an image that you can never fully control. But the moment you let go of this need, everything changes. You stop explaining yourself just to look good. You stop defending yourself just to protect your image. You stop chasing approval from people who will always find something to criticize. Instead, You focus on something far more powerful. Your character. Not how you are perceived, but who you truly are. Because while you can't control their opinions, you can control your actions. You can choose honesty. You can choose integrity. You can choose discipline. And that is where real confidence comes from. Not from being seen a certain way, but from knowing who you are, regardless of how others see you. So stop trying to control your image. Let people misunderstand you if they choose to. Let them form their opinions. Let them think whatever they want. Because at the end of the day, their perception does not define your reality. And the less you try to control it, the more power you take back. Approval is a trap. There's a silent addiction that keeps you explaining yourself. The need for approval. You want people to agree with you. You want them to understand you. You want them to validate your decisions. And when you don't get that approval, it unsettles you. So you try harder. You explain more. You add more reasons. You try to make your choices sound more acceptable, more reasonable, more right. But the more you chase approval, the more you lose yourself. Because approval is not something you can secure. It's something that changes, depending on who you're dealing with. One person will agree with you. Another will question you. Another will completely reject you. So if your peace depends on approval, your peace will always be unstable. The Stoics understood this clearly. They knew that seeking approval is a form of dependence. Because the moment you need someone else to validate your decisions, you give them power over you. Power over your emotions. Power over your confidence. Power over your sense of self. And that's where the trap is. It doesn't look dangerous at first. It feels normal. It feels human. But slowly, it begins to control you. You start making decisions based on what will be accepted, not based on what is right. You start speaking in ways that will be approved, not in ways that are true. You start living a life that looks good to others, but feels empty to you. All because you're trying to earn something that was never meant to define you. Approval. But here's the truth that sets you free. You don't need everyone to agree with you to be right. You don't need everyone to understand you to move forward. You don't need validation to trust your own decisions. Because real confidence does not ask for permission. It doesn't wait to be approved. It doesn't adjust itself to fit into every opinion. It stands firm, even when it stands alone. And that's what makes it powerful. When you let go of the need for approval, you stop over-explaining. You stop trying to make your life make sense to everyone. You stop seeking reassurance from people who don't live your reality. Instead, you begin to trust yourself. Your judgment becomes stronger. Your decisions become clearer. Your presence becomes more grounded. Because you're no longer looking outward for validation. You're rooted within. So the next time you feel the urge to explain yourself just to gain approval, ask yourself, am I doing this because it's necessary? Or because I want to be accepted? And if it's the second, let it go. Because the moment you stop chasing approval is the moment you start taking your power back. Let people misunderstand you. One of the most difficult things to accept is that some people will never see you clearly. No matter how honest you are. No matter how well you explain. No matter how much effort you put into being understood. They will still get you wrong. And for a long time, this will bother you. Because you know your intentions. You know your heart. You know the truth behind your actions. So when someone misjudges you, it feels unfair. It feels like something needs to be corrected. Like something needs to be fixed. And that's when the urge comes. To explain yourself. To defend your name. To clear the misunderstanding. But here's the reality most people struggle to accept. Not every misunderstanding is meant to be corrected. Some are meant to be ignored. Because not every person is open to seeing you for who you truly are. Some people are attached to their version of you. A version shaped by assumptions. By past experiences. By their own insecurities. And no matter what you say, they will hold on to that version. So you explain, and explain, and explain. Trying to replace their perception with the truth. But instead of changing their mind, you only exhaust yourself. This is where Stoicism teaches something powerful. You don't need to correct every false narrative. You don't need to chase every misunderstanding. You don't need to make everyone see you clearly. Because the people who truly matter will take the time to understand you. And the ones who don't were never meant to fully see you anyway. There is a certain freedom that comes when you accept this. You stop trying to control every opinion. You stop reacting to every misjudgment. You stop explaining your life to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. Instead, you let them think what they want. Not because you agree, but because you understand something deeper. Their opinion does not define you. And it never will. When you stop trying to fix how everyone sees you, you reclaim your energy. You become calmer. You become less reactive. You become more focused on what truly matters. Your actions. Your growth. Your peace. Because at the end of the day, you are not here to be perfectly understood by everyone. You are here to live your life with clarity and purpose. So let people misunderstand you. Let them doubt you. Let them judge you. And keep moving forward anyway. Because real power is not in being understood by everyone. It's in being grounded, even when you're not. Your energy is too valuable to waste. Every time you explain yourself unnecessarily, you spend something you can never get back. Your energy. At first, it doesn't seem like much. It's just a conversation. Just a few extra words. Just a moment of trying to clarify things. But over time, it adds up. The repeated explanations. The constant defending. The mental replay of conversations long after they've ended. And before you realize it, you're drained. Not because life is too hard, but because you've been giving your energy to things that don't deserve it. The Stoics understood something most people ignore. Your energy is limited. You don't have an endless supply of focus, patience, and emotional strength. So where you invest it, matters. When you keep explaining yourself to people who are not willing to understand, you are making a bad investment. You give more. they take more. And nothing meaningful comes out of it. No clarity. No resolution. No peace. Just exhaustion. And the worst part? That same energy could have been used for something far more valuable. Your growth. Your goals. Your inner peace. But instead, it gets wasted on conversations that go nowhere. This is why learning when to stop explaining yourself is not just about confidence. It's about protection. Protecting your mental space. Protecting your emotional strength. Protecting your time. Because not everything deserves your attention. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every question deserves an answer. Not every person deserves access to your thoughts. And once you understand this, you become more selective. You start choosing your battles carefully. You start recognizing when a conversation is worth your energy, and when it isn't. You stop engaging out of habit, and start responding with intention. There's also something else that happens. You become calmer. Because you're no longer pulled into every unnecessary interaction. You're no longer trying to fix every misunderstanding. You're no longer carrying conversations in your mind long after they've ended. You become lighter. More focused. More present. More in control of yourself. And that's where your power grows. Because energy saved is power gained. So the next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Is this leading to understanding, or just more noise? And if it's the second, walk away. Not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Because your energy is too valuable to be wasted on people who don't value it. Speak less, mean more. There is a powerful shift that happens when you stop trying to say everything and start saying only what matters. Most people talk too much. They over-explain. They repeat themselves. They add extra words hoping to be understood. But instead of creating clarity, they create noise. And the more noise you create, the less impact your words have. The Stoics understood a simple principle. Words should be used with intention. Not to impress. Not to convince. Not to chase approval. But to express truth, clearly and directly. When you speak less, something interesting happens. People listen more. Your words carry weight. Your presence feels grounded. Your confidence becomes visible, without you having to prove it. Because there is no desperation in your voice. No need to convince. No need to over-justify. Just clarity. And clarity is powerful. Think about it. When someone keeps talking, keeps explaining, keeps adding more, you start to tune out. But when someone speaks calmly, briefly, and with certainty, you pay attention. That's the difference. It's not about how much you say. It's about how you say it. When you remove unnecessary words, you remove doubt. When you stop over-explaining, you strengthen your authority. When you speak with intention, you create impact. This doesn't mean you become silent or distant. It means you become precise. You say what needs to be said. And you stop there. No extra justification. No endless explanations. No trying to control how your words will be received. Just truth. And then, you let it stand on its own. There is also a deeper benefit to this. When you speak less, you think more. You become more aware of your words. More conscious of your intentions. More in control of your reactions. And that awareness changes everything. Because instead of reacting emotionally, you respond deliberately. Instead of filling silence with unnecessary talk, you allow space for clarity. And in that space, you become stronger, more composed, more confident, more respected. So the next time you feel the urge to explain yourself in long detail, pause. Ask yourself, can I say this in fewer words, without losing the truth? And if you can, say less. Because when your words are fewer, they become more powerful. Take your power back by letting go. At some point, you have to make a decision. Do you keep explaining yourself? Or do you take your power back? Because both paths lead in different directions. One leads to exhaustion. The other leads to freedom. One keeps you trapped in other people's opinions. The other brings you back to yourself. The Stoics were not people who lived to be understood by everyone. They were people who lived with principle. They understood that peace does not come from being approved. It comes from being aligned with yourself. When you are aligned, you don't feel the need to explain every decision. You don't feel the need to defend every action. You don't feel the need to correct every misunderstanding. Because you trust yourself. And that trust changes everything. You stop reacting emotionally to how people see you. You stop chasing validation. You stop trying to control narratives that were never yours to control. Instead, you begin to let go. Let go of the need to be understood by everyone. Let go of the need to be approved by everyone. Let go of the need to constantly prove your worth. And in that letting go, you find something powerful. Clarity. You begin to see people for who they are, not who you wish they would be. You begin to see conversations for what they are, not what you hope they'll become. You begin to see yourself more clearly, without distortion. Because silence has replaced over-explaining. Because acceptance has replaced resistance. Because self-trust has replaced approval-seeking. And now, you are no longer controlled by external validation. You are guided by inner strength. This is what it means to take your power back. Not by arguing more. Not by defending more. Not by explaining more. But by letting go of the need to do all of that in the first place. So if there is one thing to remember from everything you've heard, it is this. You do not need to be understood by everyone to be at peace. You only need to be honest with yourself. And once you understand that, you stop explaining yourself. And you start living. And that is the truth most people never learn early enough. You don't gain power by explaining yourself more. You gain power by knowing when not to. Not every opinion deserves your response. Not every misunderstanding deserves your energy. Not every person deserves an explanation. Protect your peace. Protect your energy. And most importantly, protect your silence. Because the moment you stop trying to be understood by everyone, you finally start understanding yourself. If you got value from this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more Stoic wisdom and powerful mindset lessons like this. And I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell me where you are watching from. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. And take your power back.